As the permafrost melts in the Arctic, some very exciting discoveries have been made in recent years of the frozen remains of long-dead prehistoric creatures. These ancient animal mummies date back thousands of years and sometimes still retain their fur, skin, and even internal organs. Humans have never encountered these creatures since they roamed the Earth's prehistoric landscapes. The fact that we can now see the preserved faces of these amazing creatures is amazing. So, let's take a look at 7 of these amazing animals. Part 1. Child of Ice, 42,000-year-old Lena horse. In the summer of 2018, in the Yakutia region of Siberia, a team of scientists excavated a giant sinkhole known to locals as the Door to Hell, Batagay Crater. The hole, more than 280 feet deep and nearly as wide on all sides as a football field, formed when the permafrost thawed, causing the ground to collapse and revealing layers of ancient sediment, a natural archive of the past. In the icy mud, they found a tiny creature, just over 39 inches tall, a newborn foal, dead at about 2 weeks old. At first glance, the carcass looked terrifying, but when the mud was wiped away, people realized that every hair, every hoof, and even the tail were still intact, as if it had fallen yesterday. Scientists identified the horse as the Lena, Equus lenensis, an extinct species that lived in the mammoth steppe of Siberia during the Ice Age. Compared to modern horses, Lena was small in stature, but incredibly cold-resistant, a result of thousands of years of adaptation to blizzards and Arctic darkness. What amazed the world was not just its intact form, but the liquid blood still flowing in its veins, something that had been preserved for 42,000 years. Normally, ancient blood would freeze or dry into dust, but here it remained in a liquid state, allowing scientists to analyze its DNA and actual tissue. They also found urine in its bladder and mud in its intestines, evidence that the foal had drowned in a cold mud pit, then instantly frozen, perfectly frozen in time. This has allowed researchers to determine the color of the species, a reddish-brown bay coat with a black mane and tail, identical to today's Przewalski's horse, but a completely separate evolutionary branch. Several laboratories in Yakutsk and Seoul have tried to grow cells from the individual's tissue, hoping, one day, to revive the Lena horse using modern horse stem cell cloning techniques. No one has succeeded yet, but the mere idea of awakening a creature that took 40 millennia is enough to make people shudder. As one Yakut scientist once said, "We are not dealing with a corpse, but with the genetic memory of the Earth." Part 2. Sword-tooth baby, Homotherium latidens. 2 years later, Siberia stunned the world again. In 2020, a kitten was unearthed from the ancient ice, tiny but unusual in a way never seen. Before, a young saber-toothed tiger of the species Homotherium latidens, also known as the sickle-toothed cat. It was just 3 weeks old when it died, and the first specimen of a prehistoric cat that is not directly related to any other living cat on Earth. The entire front part of its body was preserved, its smooth gray-yellow fur, its small, round ears, clearly adapted to the icy climate, helping to reduce heat loss. Compared to a lion cub of the same age, it was strange. Its legs were shorter, its paws were larger and rounder, ideal for walking on soft snow. These details suggest that Homotherium was a tundra predator, not a jungle predator like lions or leopards. Interestingly, at this age, it had yet to grow its saber teeth, the long, curved fangs that once haunted the ancient world. But when scientists looked at its lips and jawbone, they found that Homotherium's soft tissue was much thicker than that of a lion, suggesting that as an adult, its teeth could be hidden when its mouth was closed, unlike the image often seen in movies. It turns out that saber-toothed tigers didn't always show their fangs. Sometimes they hid them, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Homotherium's lineage split off from the modern cat family around 20 million years ago, belonging to the subfamily Machairodontinae, the same group as Smilodon, the iconic species of the Americas. Unlike its giant cousin Smilodon, Homotherium was smaller, more agile, and lived in packs, like a wolf. Some archaeological evidence in Europe suggests that they may have hunted in groups, rounding up young elephants or Ice Age bison, thanks to their powerful bodies and neck muscles twice as thick as those of modern lions. And perhaps most touching is the face of this kitten, with its half-closed eyes and fine fur. As if it were sleeping. Looking at it, we don't see a monster, just a small creature, dead in the middle of the Ice Age, miraculously preserved by ice and snow. When the scientists announced the discovery in 2024, they said, "This is not just a glimpse into the past. It is a direct encounter between the present and prehistory." Part 3, Survivors of Ice Hell, 46,000-year-old roundworms. Now, let's move on from the hairy creatures to something else. Tiny, invisible, but stunning to scientists. In 2018, researchers discovered tiny hair-like creatures in soil samples taken from ancient squirrel burrows frozen in Siberia. At first, they thought they were just DNA samples, but when they thawed, they moved. The tiny roundworms began crawling, eating, and even reproducing. A carbon isotope analysis confirmed that the soil was about 46,000 years old. In other words, these creatures had been sleeping for nearly 500 millennia and had just woken up. The species, named Panagrolimus colomensis, is a distant relative of the roundworms that live in soil today. They survive by cryptobiosis, suspending all life activities, freezing completely, waiting for a favorable environment to come back to life. This mechanism is similar to that of some tardigrades, but much more complex. They restructure proteins and DNA when temperatures drop to near 70 degrees Celsius, then completely recover after tens of thousands of years. This isn't just a strange biological phenomenon. It opens up a new avenue of research for cryobiology and astrobiology. If a creature on Earth can survive 46,000 years in ice, could there be similar hibernators on Europa or Enceladus, the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, respectively? We didn't wake up a zombie, we just woke up from a sleep that lasted a little too long. One researcher joked at the press conference. Part 4, Zhur, a howl from 57,000 years ago. Now, let's turn east, where Canada's Klondike goldfields meet the Yukon Glacier. In the summer of 2016, in a gold mine near Dawson City, a worker was shoveling dirt when he found something strange. A block of ice containing gray fur and small, sharp teeth. When the scientific team arrived, they realized it was not a bone, but a nearly intact wolf pup, just 6 or 7 weeks old when it died. The Trondheim Hoetian indigenous people named the wolf pup Zhur, which means wolf in ancient Han. Despite being frozen in the ice for more than 57,000 years, Zhur's body was still soft, her fur intact, her eyes closed as if she were sleeping in a nest. At just 16 inches long, Zhur was small enough to fit in the palm of your hand, but her scientific value was immeasurable. Scientific value was immeasurable. Isotope analysis of her hair and teeth revealed that Zhur's mother ate a lot of fish, most likely Chinook salmon, which migrated along the Klondike River during spawning season. This surprised scientists. It turns out that ancient Ice Age wolves also hunted fish, similar to the Alaskan wolves that swim down streams every fall to catch salmon. History, perhaps, is not as changed as we think. Geneticists sequenced Zhur's genome and discovered that her lineage diverged from its Himalayan wolf ancestors long before modern wolf populations had even diverged. Her genome is closely related to many ancient wolves in both Eurasia and North America, suggesting that as sea levels fell, the Beringia land bridge once allowed them to move freely between the two continents. Zhur, in a way, is living proof of that great migration, a small piece of the global puzzle of the spread of the gray wolf. What's curious is that Zhur wasn't starving or sick, and there were no signs of attack. The most likely conclusion, her den collapsed, burying her just as her mother was out foraging. Death came quickly, but the frost preserved her form, so that today we can see her erect ears, soft fur, and rice grain-sized toenails. Paleontologist Julie Meechan, who led the research team, once said, "We're not just looking at a wolf, we're looking at a moment in time." Part 5, Blue Babe, a feast from the Ice Age. In 1979, at a gold mine near Fairbanks, Alaska, miners were using a hydraulic hose to thaw the permafrost when they discovered something dark. It was the carcass of a male steppe bison, almost intact. The first strange thing was its color. When exposed to air, the cow's skin turned a mysterious blue. This phenomenon is caused by a mineral called vivianite, which forms when phosphorus in the tissue reacts with iron in the soil. Because of this color and the association with the legendary blue ox of the giant Paul Bunyan, scientists named it Blue Babe. Carbon dating shows that Blue Babe died about 36,000 years ago. But how did he die? Deep scratches and punctures in his skin reveal a life and death struggle. The attacker was an American lion, an extinct species. The bison was killed, but a blizzard may have forced the hunter to abandon his meal, and the cold immediately mummified Blue Babe. But Blue Babe's story doesn't end there. It has an incredibly strange final chapter. In 1984, after completing their research, paleontologist Dale Guthrie and his team decided to do something unprecedented. They cut a piece of meat from Blue Babe's neck, cooked it into a stew, and ate it. Guthrie described that when the meat thawed, it gave off an unmistakable beefy smell, mixed with a faint earthy scent and a hint of mushroom. The stew had a Pleistocene flavor. The meat was a little tough, but delicious. And no one suffered any ill effects from the meal. They weren't just studying the past, they were tasting it. 7 creatures, 7 slices of history tell the same story. As the earth cools, it not only kills life, but also preserves its memory. Each discovery is a reminder. What is buried is never truly gone. It is just waiting for time to open, to tell its own story. In the lab in Yakutsk, in the blue light of nitrogen refrigerators, scientists still quietly observe every hair, every cell. One of the group says quietly, almost to himself, "Maybe the Earth is teaching us how to remember, in ice, not in writing." If you want to keep this window of time open, click like. To let the algorithm know that science has a place on YouTube, share with a friend who loves natural history like you. And subscribe below. Turn on the bell so you don't miss the next episode about the secrets that lie dormant under Beringia, Sundaland, and the creatures that might awaken when the ice recedes. Comment now, which discovery gave you the most goosebumps? Which topic would you like us to explore next? The Spartan cave lion, Blue Babe, or the migration route through Beringia? See you on the next journey, where the ice still whispers untold stories.